today's hand history, I am playing in the $3,500 buy-in, $3 million guaranteed Wynn main event. This is on day 1A. This tournament has a very long and slow structure. 1 hour day 1 levels, 90-minute day 2 plus. It doesn't hit the money until day 3. My table draw for this is pretty tough. It's pretty much all pros. I think we had one recreational player. Pretty early stages of this tournament. It was a 40K starting stack. I was sitting at 55K effective. It is big blind 600. Calvin Anderson, who is a very long time, very loose aggressive professional, he opens in early position to 1300. And I am in MP2, so I'm in mid position 2. And I have the King of Hearts and the King of Spades. So first of all, here we're going to look at what his raising range is and what we think it likely looks like. So he is opening off of 47K from early position, which is about 80 big blinds. He is here in early position. So he's supposed to be opening about 16% of hands. And the reason why I say he is very loose aggressive is I would be confident to say that he's probably opening more like probably around here, 22%, maybe even here, 27%. Yeah, I would at least say around here, this 22%. Maybe not none of these like offsuit stuff, but like this King 5 suited, Queen 8 suited, all these suited connectors, maybe these suited single gappers. So he's definitely getting in there. Because I have a fairly tough table and because I have a very loose opener, I am definitely going to be taking these pocket kings as a 3-bet and 3-betting them full 3x from his 1300 to 3900 in total. But first we're going to look at what my response should be from a theory level. So MP2 versus early position. As you can see here, kings is a full-throated 3-bet. And I would generally just 3-bet this versus vast majority of openers. The only times I might not 3-bet this kings here is if, say, the opener is very good and I have some incredibly weak players behind. But since that's not the case here, this is a very easy 3-bet. And actually, pretty much this entire range here, it's calling 1.5%. Considering how tough of a table draw I'm on, I would be completely okay just pure 3-betting here and actually going a total of around, say, 10%. Like fully 3-betting in King Queen off and Ace Jack off, fully 3-betting Queen 10 suited, Jack 10 suited, 10-9 suited, King 9, Ace 9, Ace 8. I might even go a bit looser. I guess honestly, considering how loose he's open, I might be 3-betting like 14 to 15%. So I'm going to be going for it. So I guess like Ace 4 suited plus, King 9 suited plus, Queen 10 suited, Jack 10, 10 9, 9 8, 7 8, 7s plus, King Queen off, and Ace Jack off plus. So yeah, I'm going to be really going for it here. So that's going to kind of change how my range looks. Also, if we look at what his response is going to be here, so this is EP versus MP2. Yeah, this looks pretty good. The exceptions I would say is I doubt he's folding Ace Queen ever here. Yeah, he's probably folding Ace Jack off. I doubt he's folding any suited aces ever. Probably any suited kings ever. Doubt he's folding these. Maybe he folds King 6, King 7, but I doubt he's folding King 9 or King 8. Doubt he's folding these, or any pairs ever. So yeah, so this range is also a bit tighter than what I think his actual range looks like too. So I have a looser range for value, or just in general, I guess. And so I have a loose linear range-ish, and then he has a very loose, fairly capped range. The reason why I'm saying fairly capped is I would expect him with aces, kings, and ace king to almost certainly 4-bet. I would expect queens to probably 4-bet full. Jacks I could see going either way. So I think he's pretty capped at like jacks, ace, queen. I don't really think he has queens plus or ace king ever here. So he has a fairly loose capped range, and I have a fairly somewhat loose, strong linear range. So knowing that, when I 3-bet to 3,900 and he calls, we go to a flop. Pot size is now 9,300, and the flop is the Queen of Spades, the 7 of Hearts, and the 4 of Spades, and he, of course, is supposed to pure check to me. In this type of spot, I would expect I'm supposed to continuation bet my entire range. I'd be somewhat surprised if I had more checks than, say, 10%. And I'd also expect I'm supposed to largely go quarter pot with maybe a little bit of upsizing. So we're going to see if I'm correct. Yep, pretty much zero check back and pretty much zero just going quarter pot. Yeah, so not too surprising here. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm at a fairly large range advantage. I have a fairly strong linear range, and he has a somewhat weak, loose capped range. So my response should be pretty obvious. So, but good to see I'm nailing this spot, but really this is a pretty easy spot. So, obviously here versus a very loose aggressive opponent, I only have one decision. I want to start building this pot. And since I'm up against a longtime professional, I don't really want to upsize as an exploit. I think that would be a bit of a mistake. So I continuation bet 2,400 into the pot size of 9,300, so about a quarter pot. And he check raises me. So when most people check raise me here in this 3-bet pot, I kind of just expect that they have ace queen, maybe king queen, pocket fours, pocket sevens, and then maybe some nut flush draws, and then maybe some like combo draws, and that's it. So I could see like 7-8 of spades, or 8-6 of spades, or 5-6 of spades. I could see ace-x of spades. I could see, yeah, sets, ace queen. And so the only hands I really beat are either queen x and his flush draws. So I don't beat a ton. So for the vast majority of players, I am just going to call here. But we're going to look at solver world, see what types of hands he's supposed to be using as check raises. So ace queen is in there. Ace jack of spades, ace 10 of spades, king jack of spades, some king jack of hearts too, which I block here, so it doesn't matter. King 10 of spades, also I block the king x of spades as well, so it doesn't really matter. Jacks are supposed to do at small percentages. He's probably not using these. I block this king x suited. These ace x suited, especially backdoor flush draws, I would expect him to have as well. So really nothing too surprising in here. I would expect him to hit at least all of these. I might also expect him to hit some stuff that's outside of this too, though. Like he might use, like, say he's going to have jack 9 of spades here. He's probably using that. He might go for value or just, you know, kind of merge like these queen 10s, queen jacks at high frequencies. Definitely his king queens are going to be in there pretty full. Any of these king x suiteds with the backdoor flush draws, although I blocked those. So all of these ace x suiteds, I think he's going to be hitting. So pretty much all these draws, you can actually just like ramp it up to 100. He probably has all of them in full. So then what should my response be? I think I have two different very viable options here. I can call this check raise, and then on clean turn cards, when he bets, I can jam over his bet, or if he checks, I can just bet very large myself. I think that is very viable. Or I can 3-bet. Now, we're going to look at theory and see if I am supposed to 3-bet this. I figured that it would be completely, totally fine to 3-bet. So if we look here, I'm supposed to 3-bet this ace 4. It's supposed to go ham. That ace 4 there, which is kind of fun. Aces and kings I'm supposed to 3-bet. And pretty much everything else I'm supposed to call. Kind of interesting call here. I guess the ace king with a spade blocker. We get to float those and turn them into bluffs on spades, which is kind of fun. We're just calling our own ace high flush draws, king high flush draws, jack high flush draw. Jack 10 of hearts, we're getting in there with a little cheeky peel. Nothing too surprising here, honestly. Maybe some of y'all might be surprised that we're calling pocket sixes or 5-4, pocket eights, 9s, 10s, jacks. You know, you have a pair, you get 2 cards, you're just not folding that to a check raise. Ain't gonna happen. So none of these are too surprising to me. Kings here, as you can see, it definitely just goes for it. Actually, in game, it just rips. I wasn't too big of a fan of jamming here. I figured that I could get away with a click size here, so going 35% pot. So he check raises 7,300. If I call, pot size is 23K. 35% pot of that would be about, so 7,500 more, 8K more. And I 3-bet to 13.5K. So I went about 30% pot, 29% pot. And the reason why is I actually thought that when I re-click it, it probably just looks like I have a hand like ace king a lot. Hands like ace jack, hands like Jack 10 of hearts. I have a hand that doesn't want to call his check raise and either wants to either A, put in more chips so I have strong value, or B, I just want to fold out a ton of like bad equity that he has, which I definitely think he has a ton of hands like that. I also figured that he would assume if I had really strong hands that I would just call because all my super strong hands want to keep in his bluffs. So I figured that 3-betting this to then call versus 4-bet jam, which if we do click this, and he does shove, which he did. As you can see here, kings is just pure calling this. So this entire hand really comes down to being able to look at a situation based off of who your opponent is and figure out the best way to extract value from them and to induce bluffs. When you're playing against very aggressive players who you have a lot of history with, it can sometimes be very, very good to just play your very strong hands hyper aggressively and use that as a mean to induce action, not necessarily setting traps. I feel as though most people's first instincts when they're playing against very aggressive players is to trap and let them bluff. But if you can find other ways to leverage more aggression, sometimes some microaggression from yourself can actually induce better action than calling, since they're going to be kind of confused by it and might be a little bit more apt to blast off. Also something to consider, 3,500 early stages reentry. I just think he's apt to blast off in this spot. So all those factors for me made this a very easy flop 3-bet. That being said, I think calling here is fine as well, but I prefer pushing aggression versus aggressive players. Feels that generally going to be the best way to build massive pots, especially in the early stages in super deep stack versus these types of players. Anyways, I hope you have enjoyed. Oh, what someone had mentioned is that they dislike the fact that I don't say what the result was. So going forward, I'm going to try to make sure I always include what the result is. And on top of that, if I miss it, you can hear some snarky remark from Kale that I missed it because I am a dum-dum. Anywho, I snapped it off. I very happily called. I was fist pumping it in. He had ace 10 with that flush draw, and I held, which was great because I ended up making day 2 with a decent stack. And spoiler alert, I then also have made, right now I've made day 3, which is going to be tomorrow for me.
And just like that, Ryan finally admits it. He is a time-traveling ninja. I do have a question. If he can time travel, why doesn't he have, like, infinite bracelets? Something doesn't add up.
On that note, thank you for watching. Stay safe and healthy out there, and best of luck at the tables. See ya!